Wow, talk about speaking for too soon and overall surprises. Hope you enjoy everyone that swapped into the cinema. As gave my latest review on Bleach chapter 684, The Blade. Right now, this chapter is definitely very unique because it looks like they finally achieved victory. It looks like they finally defeated Yhwach, or so they thought. No, it's definitely very interesting. Yeah. After your wife looks like he seemingly crumbles to the floor after being defeated, after he just got tensioned by Ichigo, you get to see Aizen and Ichigo actually have a conversation. It's been so long since they've spoken to each other. I mean, remember these two. Remember, like Ichigo was the Ichigo was the one who brought him down at nearly the cost of his own life. Help bring him down. He was literally the main bad guy for Bleach. It seems that he did got your watch, and it seems that Ichigo even sensed his presence, even from far away. How he was approaching the battlefield, he sensed his presence. He could feel Aizen's power all the way. Even though he's never been sure, and he's never even seen the release or the full power of his Kyogetsu, used on him. It's just he's the first one who hasn't seen it. That means he doesn't mean he's immune. All Aizen has to do is just swing his sword around, and he could use it on him. And seeing how these two interact with each other, even though they did work together to defeat Yhwach, I always know Aizen. Aizen he has his own reason for doing things like this. He has his own reason. More than his survival. I mean, this guy is a master manipulator, and he won't hesitate to bring someone down, especially if he knows they're a threat to him. Yeah, he's obviously worked with Ichigo just to watch as their mutual enemy because he wants to destroy the Soul Society, Iweko Mundo, the real world, to rebuild it and rebuild it in his own image. He started even look from looks like peaceful to bad right now. Has you watch his shadow, that cloak with all those thousand eyes just seemingly pop up out of nowhere and surround on Aizen literally. I mean, what the hell happened to Aizen? What did he do to him? I mean, and we get to learn even more about Yhwach. I mean, Yhwach said he can see the future. He can manipulate the future. He can even manipulate the future, and when he dies, he can make sure he doesn't die. He can unkill. He can make sure he's unkillable, which is pretty badass. I mean, Yhwach being a god and everything is pretty intense because Yhwach and Yhwach is such an overpowered character, such an OP character. How can you hope to beat someone like this? Even Ichigo, knowing that and he's keep trying to remind him that it's useless, and keeps going after his sword of all things, seriously. It's pretty crazy and rough when you think about it. I mean, Star Toe is the Soul Reaper's main weapon. It's a part of them. So seeing Ichigo's sword getting cracked over and over again, taking this abuse, it's something you gotta think about. But then things start to look up as out of nowhere, a single arrow fires to his chest. And that arrow was launched by Uryu. It's the same arrow his father gave him right now. Just gave him, that special relic. I said this before in my previous Bleach video about Quincy relics. They contain mysterious powers that transcends the Quincy's and fully augments and magnify their abilities. Like for example, if you guys remember the first two seasons of Bleach, there was the Sanrei Shoto, that special glove that Uryu's grandfather left and for Uryu that materializes both from an energy bow to a solid bow. Then there was his Gin Ikojaku, which he came after he recovered from his final form, which he gained after he removed the glove, which made killed Mayuri. And then there's also that bracelet. If you guys remember the Bounce Heart, he had a artifact, this bracelet that gave him his Quincy powers back. That was just filler. That wasn't part of the main story. It was very good though. Yeah. Overall, I do like it. Overall, it's just further proof that there are some artifacts and things like this relic. It hurts your watch because it was made long ago by certain properties and it possessed special materials. That means that this weapon probably predates Yhwach itself. It was made during the time of the 1,000-year blood war between both Yhwach and the Soul Society, that being Gemiyusa Yamamoto, but I'm just overhyping and overthinking it. And even though he's took this power, and Yhwach said it himself, even though you can stop my power for a second, Evan, it doesn't matter. Seeing how Yhwach, he goes back to his previous form, and the panic and look on his face is something we haven't seen in Yhwach so far, which is pretty which is pretty shocking. Seeing how surprised he was, he didn't see this coming. I'm like, was he so distracted by Kyokasu Igetsu and his attention for Ichigo? That means that there are some flaws in his power. I mean, the fact that he fell prey to power, the Aizen's Kyokasu Igetsu's power of complete hypnosis. Yes, yes. God power or not, being the Sonkin's son or not, he probably does have limits to his power. There are probably some limits somewhere. Even though he pushes back Ichigo, cracking his sword or over and over again until he tries to come on the peepers. But then out of nowhere, the sword reveals that all the cracks start to come loose, and what's shown beneath that shell between his combined sword was his old Sanpakuto, his old Zangetsu. Which is pretty nostalgic because we all know that the main focal point of his power was Zangetsu, but his power had two different forms. Like there was his regular Zangetsu, there was Zangetsu that was his Soul Reaper powers, the foundation, but then there is his other self, which is the Hollow power, but then there's also a third essence, which is his Quincy aspect. And we all know that the old man Zangetsu, the one with the sunglasses, the one that is Ichigo's, that the inner soul of his sword, was what Yhwach looked like 1,000 years ago during the Thousand Blood War arc. He stepped back. He stepped forward and gave Ichigo his true Sanpakuto because he knew that Ichigo had finally been ready to use his real sword, but his true power, and so he stepped back at the time. And now that his old sword has returned, what does this mean? Does that mean that Odahime's power to undo what Yhwach did has some kind of effect, or does it mean that Ichigo has regained some new ability or retained his old abilities, or is he back to what he was before what happened with the final battle with Aizen? Who knows? This is just like guessing at this point. One thing I for sure, see how he used his sword to literally slice Yhwach in half. That's gotta be the biggest surprise. Despite all that, despite the sword, and Yhwach being surprised, I don't really know. Since Yhwach has the power to rewrite the future, this could all be a part of his plan. So, but if you guys are like me and just hoping that this is probably be the end of it, I mean, Bleach is gonna end in like freaking September, end in like a couple of weeks anyway, so it's not gonna matter. And even though it seems rushed, and I hope when they bring the anime back, it's not so rushed like this. I hope there's a lot more action, really. Yeah, I mean, and so, but overall, what's your opinion? What did you think of this? Chapter? Give me your honest opinion. What did you think about the surprise at the end about Zangetsu being reborn into its old blade? And overall, Ichigo cutting Yhwach finally, for real, but I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. And give me your opinion, comment, write, subscribe, and tell me what you know. Overall, that's all I gotta say. Hope you enjoyed the squad to subscribe. Thank you. This is Sellavin. I'll give my interview on Bleach chapter 684, the Blade. I'm out. Bye.